Good morning. Good morning. Alrighty. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great start to the day. Good start to the week. Man, as I mentioned in the agenda email, that was one amazing weekend of football. If you're a football fan, or if you weren't a football fan, my wife was right into it watching the Chiefs game. She was into it, so I think I got a fan out of her now. Unfortunately, she cheers for the Chiefs, but ugh. Anyways, it was a great weekend. Lots of cool stuff coming up. I'm going to give you guys just a quick little advance notice. We are going to be talking about RESA towards the end of the meeting today. So if you have any questions, things like that, type them into the chat box or type them into the Q&A box as we go. I will be addressing it, but just letting you, giving the advance notice, any questions, have them ready. Starting off quickly, a quick reminder, we're launching the Buffini 100 Days to Greatness program on February 16th. This is, again, if you can guess, it's 100 days long, which is 14 weeks. And that is one session per week starting on February 16th, which is Wednesdays at 9:30. We're going to have a north group and a south group meeting every week starting February 16th. And this is a phenomenal course. It really gets, again, back to the fundamentals. We're using football, sorry for the sports analogies, but drawing about football, right? There are, there are key plays. There are the key fundamentals, blocking, tackling, the plays you need to get some yardage, to get the ball moving, to get some momentum. The fundamentals of real estate are no different. Without mastering the fundamentals, you can't take the next step of your business. And so I don't know of a better trainer and mentor than Brian Buffini to get those fundamentals in place. The other thing about this that I got to say, right, is in addition to the Buffini, about roughly, what their contribution is, your course is being facilitated and mentored by your broker, which is going to have, and other peers, right, which is just allows you for even more opportunities to train, get mentorship, get extra knowledge. So this is an incredible opportunity. Do not miss it. It's only an investment of $500. We can again, which one extra sale, one dialogue, one lead, one client pays for this thing tenfold. And we have flexible payment plans available. So if you want, you can, again, we're not going to charge you until the end of the course. And then even then we can tack it on and stretch it out over monthly payments if you would like to do that. But I'm thinking by the end of the course, you already got so many extra deals flowing in, you're going to be shelling out wanting to take it again, right? So again, make sure you register for 100 Days to Greatness. Fantastic stuff there. On the note on the awards, again, this is something I think I mentioned the agenda. This is something where it's a moving parts all the time with this bloody COVID stuff. So Royal Page viewing party online is on February the 18th. We had booked a venue to have a party with the other Royal Pages, and then all the Omicron stuff came, and so everything's kind of on hold right now. We're watching and going to be waiting until the new restrictions are announced on February 1st to see what happens, check out the COVID climate and see what's going on. Probably by that time, everyone in the world's had it anyways, but nonetheless, the short answer is stay tuned. We're hoping to have a joint party with the other Royal Pages. It's just we're not sure yet exactly on when and how soon it's going to be. So stay tight on the award stuff. but I know all of the award winners have their ads and things like that that have gone out in the social media ads. But we're going to stay tuned for the awards announcements, because there's a couple, there's Realtor of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and all those kind of different announcements. We're not sure. I don't even know who's won those. That's going to be announced on the 18th. So stay tuned for that. And again, stay tuned for our party announcements. The kickoff that we had was last week on Tuesday, January 18th, which is exactly 1 week ago. I'm not going to, the link to watch it in its entirety was in the agenda, and Phil's slides from his presentation were also attached to the agenda. I'm just going to go through a few of them, because if you haven't watched Phil's presentation, it's fantastic. Again, you watch it and you get smarter by watching it, and it really gives you some great materials and some information to talk about while you are, around the dinner table or around what table you go around these days. But if you're talking to the neighbor while you're snowballing or shoveling your driveway, you can actually sound intelligent. So a few different things. Number one, on the positive side of things, Canada continues to be just a great country to live in, which again, I'm going to back up for a second here. When we talk about real estate, we're talking about supply and demand, right? Basic economics, right? What's the demand for a product, and how much do you have of it? That dictates price. So part of this is all about, well, what's fueling the demand? Why are so many people buying homes in Canada? So one of them is Canada is a great place to live. Shocker, right? Quality of life and social purpose rankings, Canada's number one, which is fantastic. I thought was really interesting. This isn't just a Canadian issue right now, rising prices. It's across the board. Look at that, like, live in Turkey, it's 35% up. Who knew? Right? All these different countries are experiencing price growth, the same and to a higher extent than Canada, for crying out loud. So one of the big things here is I also like to point at Australia, which has their no blind bidding rules, and they're up ahead of Canada's price appreciation. So we know that doesn't work. Nonetheless, it's cool to put it on a global perspective that this is just completely across the board, right? I think 56 countries in the world saw a 10% annual house appreciation, right? Over, I guess, in the third quarter. Inflation, as we know, has definitely been a hot topic, is expected to come down a little bit. We'll see about that, but it's expected to. Wages are rising across the country, province by province. And this is, again, speaking to demand, speaking to why are people buying homes, and speaking about inflation and the overall health of the economy and the housing market. Because again, there's certain people out there, Chicken Little's, calling the sky is falling. This is kind of giving a little bit of context. There's what's happening with interest rates. As we know, they are going to rise. It's holding steady right now, and we're expecting, in the near future, middle of the year for sure, to see some of them rise. But we're watching that. This was the forecast as well for region by region. The price appreciation, Winnipeg here in the Western provinces, were all basically, Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Winnipeg, all hovering around that 6% is what the forecast is. I thought this was also a great slide here. What is actually driving these prices, right? So we talk about supply and demand. There's a whole bunch of different things here. So one, here's the supply. We're going to get to that in a second. We have a shortage. We know that. The demand, boomers, millennials, all of these things. There's household formation there's more millennials coming into the market. That's coming up in a bit. Boomers are trying to downsize and trying to sell their properties, right? So you have just household formation. There's people getting of age to buy homes, right? And then the pandemic throws some things into there, right? We've got low interest rates. We've got increased savings. And owning a home right now is still, the stats that I believe are coming up, but home ownership is a hot commodity, right? People want to own a home. It's a great way of building wealth. And even millennials, the younger generations, believe that it is a way to build wealth. So we have all these factors going into, again, why the prices are appreciating the way they are. And again, all these slides are included in Phil's, in the email I sent out in the agenda. So I encourage you to take a look at these and have them on hand if you need to brush up on any of this stuff. And this is just, again, speaking of the supply, just where we are at right now in the housing shortage, right? We are, in Canada, we are more shorter than any of these other major countries. And so that, again, it's 1.8 million homes across the nation that we're actually short on. I thought it was just an interesting stat here, just about people are working from home more than ever. We know that, but that also contributes to the demand and the need and the desire for larger homes, nicer homes, and to move. We talked about the savings rate. This is, an 11% in the third quarter. Typically, people save 2 to 3% of their income. Now, nationally, the average is 11% in their savings rate. We've got an extra $280 billion kicking around since the pandemic, right? And the savings trove represents 10% of annual Canadian GDP. Okay, so basically all that said is Canadians are saving more money. People got more money, more cash kicking around these days, unless you went on vacation. Employment is also up. My dad always taught me, he says, you want to see what the real estate market is like, there's just two things you need to look at, people and jobs. What's the population look like? Is it increasing? And also, are people have work, and are wages rising? Are people making money? So if you have more people and they have jobs, that generally means people need housing, right? So that really is a very simple economic measurement for demand. And you can see here, the employment growth is back to pre-pandemic levels, actually ahead of them. Speaking of population is rising and definitely slowed there, while immigration is, took a bit of a pause. Look at that. There's one birth every minute and 28 seconds. I think since I've been talking, like 4 kids been born, probably all at prime. Joke. All right. Interprovincial migration, I thought this was also interesting. Ontario is actually suffering the most. They're losing people, again, probably because of the prices and other such things. But Manitoba and Saskatchewan here kind of took it on the chin as well. And people are moving to BC, Alberta, and to the coasts, right? Into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, BC, kind of the leaders there. So I thought that was also an interesting stat. I mean, how many realtors? I think we have like 3 realtors now working out of Calgary as well. So there's the stats that also prove it. Talk about millennials, again, breezing through this stuff here. Watch Phil's presentation for all the really good nuggets, but you can see here just millennials are, their percentages are rising, that they're coming into the prime home buying years. They want 92% of them say it's a good financial investment. Most of them already own their own home, and 70% of them want to buy a home in the next 5 years, right? So you've got a huge cohort of people with jobs, with some cash, and they want to buy homes, right? So that's, again, fueling that demand. Immigration, there's great stuff that Phil has talked about with immigration on a more granular scale than I am going to cover here, but long and the short of it is immigration is kicking back up. It's going to be into high gear, and 75% of newcomers, they come with savings to allow them to buy a home. Phil even talks about, and there's slides about that, newcomers to Canada actually purchase more expensive homes as well. So it's a huge source of business, a huge source of demand as well. It's keeping the market churning. He also talked quickly about, I don't know this to all the nuts and bolts, but there's going to be some cool seller lead generation things coming up on royallepage.ca. And I'll just comment on that. There's probably going to be some drastic changes into how data is shared amongst brokerages, amongst the population across the nation over the next year here, with RESA and other things coming into play. So this is actually going to be a more useful tool. Right now, as you probably know, Royal LePage and any company only has access to their company's data. That will be changing this year. So sneak peek, there's a little foreshadowing for you that these things are actually going to be coming into play and have much more value hopefully later this year. That's kind of the update from the market standpoint. I want to give you guys a little update just on Royal LePage Prime as we kind of finished up 2021. All the numbers came in. So here's kind of the stats for 2021. We had 4,309 sales and $1.68 billion of volume in 2021. That did put us at the number 1 position. And I think at this point, no one's that shocked, but congratulations. It's always nice to be in the pole position there. At the same time, which I always find interesting, and this is not to poo-poo on competitors or anything like that, but what is of interest is I looked comparing to last year, and even though the entire market, went up, we know that, right? And a rising tide lifts all boats. So I think almost every company sold more than they did last year. However, their market share, that percentage of the market, in some cases, every Royal LePage office, congratulations to all those wonderful Royal LePages, all increased in their market share, and every single RE/MAX lost market share. I should say every single one, but the ones that are on the top 10 here that they track, in the top 10 brokerages all lost market share. The other thing was interesting here is just for, I don't even know how much to read into this, but this number here, this 46.72, last year was at 49%, which means basically the top 10 brokerages in the city accumulated for half the sales last year, and now it was actually up to 53.28%. So it was a case where the top 10 brokerages kind of took a bit more of the pie over the last year. I don't even know what that means, if it's good or bad, I'm not sure, but just out of curiosity. But anyway, so nothing against our wonderful competitors. They're great. We love them. But it was nice for Royal LePage, a nice win there to continue the changing tide of Royal LePage being the preferred choice in Manitoba, Winnipeg, compared to those other balloon guys. So congratulations. Also, I thought this was really cool. We talked, I think it was on the slide there, or it might be coming up, sorry. But we were Manitoba's most quoted and number one in earned media. So earned media is different than paid media, right? Paid media is ads. Earned media is the media picking up on our stories. And so we had Royal LePage Prime actually had 142.8 or 140, just over 142, almost 143 million media impressions in 2021. So that's awesome. I'll tip my cap to Royal LePage and their corporate offices for doing a great job in producing the reports and being able to get in the media and earning their way into there, right? So this was what I was referring to. Royal LePage also finished number one in earned media. So they had over 6 billion media impressions in 2021. So again, a cool stat. We're going to throw those kind of some stuff into those listing presentations. But that's a great sign. And again, kudos to Phil and their whole team up there. As well, just on the Royal LePage national level as well, just letting you guys know some cool stats here. They participated. So if you take up every deal in Canada, basically a third of them had a Royal LePage agent in all of Canada. So a third of every deal had a Royal LePage agent on one side or another, which is pretty cool. Over $100 billion in volume. And this one is also something. I know I've sent it to Brit as well. So if anybody's using our listing presentation packages, it's going to be in there. But I sent you the slides. Steal this slide. Right? Steal this slide, put this into your listing presentations, especially you're going up against smaller brokerages, you're going up against, independents, etc. This is huge, right? RoyalPage.ca kicks some serious butt. Over 100 million visitors a year, double the audience of Remax.ca. So that's a nice slide. A whole bunch of different leads generated. Maybe you want to blurb that part out. I don't know, but actually it's fine because it's sellers are actually going to care that you're getting leads off of the website, right, to sell their home. So I think it's a great slide to include. And again, be very proud that RoyalPage.ca is a serious force in the marketplace. All righty, switching gears here slightly. I'm going to talk a couple technical things from the broker's desk. That's supposed to be me. Anyways, so how not to accept an offer. You're going to see this. I think I've done a good job whiting out anything that could give away things. But what you see here, and again, this is going to be great when we move back to in-person meetings. We can actually talk about this and we'll have a little bit of a laugh together. But nonetheless, this offer, what do you see here, right? If anyone wants to throw something into the chat, go for it. But I'll tell you what we can see here is we have this ambiguous, I'm calling the ambiguous acceptance. And I actually see this quite a bit, unfortunately. But you have here the listing agent here does not do anything with this acceptance line, right? Ideally, you want to be editing that first line, whether you're crossing out or circling accepts the offer or crossing out the counter offer. So they've kind of just filled in the timeline here. But then they say, so if you read it, if I'm reading it from the top, I'm saying, oh, it looks like this is a counter offer, right? So giving a deadline on 11/59 on the 5th. And then it says, though, offer accepted as written, which usually should mean offer accepted as written. So that says, accept purchase price to be increased to blank and no staging items will be included. All right. So what you have here again, is it ambiguous? Well, is this accepted? Is this not? Is this a counter? Or is it not? Because it made it look like a counter here, but then you said it's written, accepted as written, right? But then you made some more changes. Oh, by the way, there's also a purchase price increase in staging items. All right. And then everybody signed this and they turned in the deal with nothing else in here. Right. So what we have here is it's confusing. Is this deal signed? Is it not? Is anything agreed upon? Even if they went and increased, and if they, initialed the changes on page one and they changed the price and things like that, you have this really awkward acceptance. Okay, so what should they have done? Right? Be very clear, right? If this is going to be a counter offer, put it in as a counter offer, right? And say none of this accepted as written stuff. Just say counter offer, price to be increased here, no staging items included, blank, and they should have a buyer. Should have written as a counter offer and have the buyer sign the counter offer. Okay. Now the next one you're going to see is kind of an amalgamation of two things, but a lot of times I've seen people, they get our agents, and I get it. They make the counter offer and they're worried about, well, what if these guys, they never, they agreed to this thing. They told me that they're accepting the counter over the phone, and I write as a counter offer. What if they don't sign the counter offer? So you see sometimes people doing things like this, right? So this is where, again, it's sort of ambiguous. We have this blank thing filled out here, which usually this is blank up top. So you would think that they're accepting the offer, which they said offer accepted. Great. However, they're saying purchase price to be increased to blank hot water tank, and they're making all of these changes to the offer, right? Then they throw in this verbally agreed to at 7:15 a.m. on this date. So again, is it a counter? Is it not a counter? What is it? The buyer here signs a counter offer. So it looks like it's supposed to be a counter offer, but you have this weirdness here. There's no deadline for the counter offer up there. You have this offer accepted part. Again, offer accepted does not mean counter. A counter is a counter. Accepted means it's done. So if you say offer accept, it's kind of like a, oh shoot, where's Lynn on this one? Where's my terminology for poker? What do you call that when you call, but then you raise? I call and raise. What's a string bet? Thank you. So it's kind of like a string bet in poker where you're messing with stuff, right? You're going, well, it's accepted, but with changes. Well, then it's not accepted. You're just asking to make changes. Okay. So we need to clean up this kind of stuff. If it's either accepted or it's countered, one or the other. This is what you see sometimes. So let's say in this example here, again, if I was going to correct this agent, I would have said, okay, sounds like you're doing a counter offer because you're changing terms. So put it in the counter offer, fill it out, give it a proper deadline. None of this offer accepted nonsense. Just put as a counter and say purchase pricing to be blank, hot water tank sold in as is condition. Great. Now this part I actually don't mind is this whole, hey, we agreed to this thing at this time on this date. Is it super binding? No, but it gives you a little bit more teeth in case the other agent or the buyer here, they're like, I changed my mind. I don't want to sign this thing, right? And that's where, even though you verbally agreed to it, kind of put it in there. I definitely would have put it over text message and said, agree to via text, at blank, blank, blank. And you have that in there so that you kind of just have a little bit of documentation that, hey, don't try to weasel out of this by saying, well, I'm not going to sign the counter. They already agreed to it. Acceptance was communicated, and you kind of pull a little bit of teeth there. So that's what could have been done better in both these circumstances. You have this, just, are you countering or are you not countering? And none of this accepted, it's accepted except for this. Doesn't make sense. Okay. It's either accepted or it's a counter. The other option with these things, of course, you can go and change the offer and initial those changes, in which case then you would say offer accepted as written, and all the changes on the rest of the offer are initial. Okay. So we just have some of this like merging of two different ways of doing it, which is completely confusing. And when it's confusing, what that means is your deal's in jeopardy. If a lawyer gets a hold of this, now unfortunately, we're able to catch this, correct it, have the agents go and fix all this stuff. But if it wasn't, potentially this deal's in jeopardy, right? And again, is it the majority of the time? No, but does it happen? Absolutely. Any questions on that? I'll let anyone throw it into the, in the chat box. Why can't I see the chat box? All right. Looks like we're okay. I'm just going to back it up. Sorry, it's not on this particular offer here. But just a reminder, I was talking to Annie yesterday. Double check, make sure those your times are filled out. It's not necessarily, from a standpoint of, well, RESA requires you to fill the time, but it's on the offer. And this one again here is missing the time. And sometimes you'll see it on AuthentiSign or DocuSign. That's the thing about it. Fill in the times and make sure it's legit. Here's an example again in this one. Well, it says here it's signed by 9 on the 6th. Sorry about that, everyone. My internet just completely capped out there. Sorry about that. I am back live here. Okay. So again, if you're using the AuthentiSign or DocuSign timestamping, that's kind of cool. It has the times in there, but a lot of times we see, like in this example here, it didn't actually have the time. The agent thought they had the time and they left the time out here. Again, it can get, most of the time things go okay. But if somebody doesn't want things to go okay, if you have a wishy-washy buyer or seller, which happens, they can use some of these things as loopholes out of the deal, right? So just make sure your times are displayed in one way or another there. If you're using AuthentiSign, DocuSign, make sure you're putting the correct timestamps on. Quick little reminder, again, just adding clients to MoveSnap. A lot of times people are filling it out, but then they're not leaving that blank. If it's blank, staff isn't going to do it. So if you put yes, then staff will go to work for you, but you got to fill in the box. Okay, super easy. Just check the box. Yes or no. Okay, talking about some RESA updates. Had a board of directors meeting yesterday, so I've got to be, things are confidential there, so I can tell you exactly what I can. RESA, the MREA was on the call. Bob Tyler was on the call. And so they did a really good presentation anyways, and kind of gave a lot of different information updates and some clarity on some things. So I can tell you exactly what I know and what I don't and what's coming. Unfortunately, anytime there's a promise, you know me, I'm a little bit skeptical as far as any provincial government making promises. But what I'm told is, I'll say on the first thing, your advertising interpretations are coming soon. So guidelines around this advertising thing. As you know, what the letter of the law says is ridiculous, ill thought out, all kinds of different things like that. I asked the people who are part of the panel, who were involved in creating these things, I asked them, what was the actual intention behind this? Because I don't know if it's missing. And they did speculate, although they couldn't speak to exactly the intention, but kind of my initial feelings were right. It was really centered around agents advertising large teams without having, like, just splashing people up on a billboard without actually being agents, and having unlicensed assistants on billboards and things like that. That was kind of their intention. But of course, there was a whole bunch of collateral damage. So what's happening is Maria has assured us that we are, they have had the Securities Commission's ear, and that Securities Commission is drafting what are called interpretations. So how legislation kind of works is, one, you have the legislation act phase, right, which is the Services Act. Part two is the regulations, which kind of drills down into a finer detail on what some of the finer points of the law is. And then what comes next is interpretations. Whereas how do we interpret this stuff? And their interpretations are, I can interpret things different than the next person. So MSC is basically drafting some interpretations. I'm going to put some guidelines around this advertising thing. What I'm told is to be optimistic. Will we being realtors, get everything we want with these advertising updates? No, we won't. Will we get a lot of it? I'm told, yes, we're going to get a lot of what we want. So now I don't know what that means, other than my guess at this point is that we're going to see this whole non-registrants and advertising thing, your clients, faces and all that kind of stuff, and testimonials and reviews are going to be permitted. That's my guess. Don't take this as gospel right now, but that's my guess, because there's really no reason not to have that. I do suspect the listings and solds on your websites and that kind of thing, I don't expect that to change. That's just my hunch. So that being said, a couple of the questions I know that come in is like, my social media, do I have to scrub it? All that. I'm just saying, hold tight. Don't do anything crazy right now. And just sit tight until these things come. My guess is the sold properties and all that kind of stuff isn't going to change, but the advertising stuff will when it comes to non-registrants being in photos. I think that's going to change. So hang tight. Hopefully my guessing is right, but that's supposed to be coming, I'm told, by the end of the month. Maybe. On the same note, the PREC registration process, I'm also told is going to be ready by the end of the month. Okay, so I know we're sitting on some checks. I was waging war. I think I won the war, but I don't know if I want to continue the war just to save like 5 more days. So, and be on the radar for Securities Commission. So for right now, sit tight. It's supposed to be done by the end of the month. Once you get your registration process, you'll have to actually register your PREC, which might take a few more days. I don't know. And then once it's registered, then you'll be registered, and they're going to have some rules around that, in which case you can get your PREC paid and you can have your advertising will have to start being displayed on offers and things like that. I'm also told that they're advocating for this abbreviation to be allowed to be used. So you don't have to write out Personal Real Estate Corporation every time. I know they're advocating for it. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but anyways, the moral of the story is stay tuned, hang tight for another week. They told us till the end of the month. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping that's what happens, right? I see there's something in the chat here. Let me see here. PREC definition stands for Personal Real Estate Corporation. Okay, or PREC. Okay, so that's what I got for you, the RESA updates. I'm going to give it a second here. If anybody has any other questions, anything at all on RESA, if you want to have any questions, I know it's a hot topic. So if there's any questions, throw them into the Q&A box, throw them in the chat box. I'll give it a second here, and I'll ramble on about something else in the meantime. Well, I'll give you guys a second to, oh, there it is. Is the PREC needed on business cards? So again, I'm going to say hold tight. We're going to wait for these interpretations around the PREC and their advertising. My guess is yes. They're going to say advertising needs to have the PREC on it. The question right now is whether we're going to be allowed to say PREC or actually have to spell out Personal Real Estate Corporation. But they're going to be, I'm told they're going to be putting some rules and some, again, interpretations around that rule as well. So in that regard, stay tight. Of all of the advertising out there, I don't think business cards are a hot commodity, right? You're not merely making them public. You're not putting your business card, unless you're taking a picture of your business card and putting it online. You're generally not, making your business card public. You're giving it to an individual. So what are they going to do? Run you into the Securities Commission? I doubt it. So go around running around changing your business card left at showings. If you leave your business card at showings, and in theory, you would have to have some sort of loser agent go up there, know that you're a PREC, and report you to Securities Commission. Could that happen? In theory, I would still make the case. I don't think it's worth changing everything right now, this very second. Wait until the interpretations come up for PRECs and go from there. But I really don't think it's going to be a big deal for business cards. Do you think there will be any updates or changes on whether or not we can be paid while representing family members? No, I don't see that changing. Apparently, again, the history of this goes, the commission originally had like any family member, you're not getting paid. Brothers, sisters, parents, kids, cousins, like in-laws, outlaws, anybody. And apparently Maria's stance is that they won, that they got a little bit, I mean, I remember actually we wrote in on that. We thought it was ridiculous. So right now it's only if your spouse buys or if your kid buys, and or in step is in there as well. If your kid, step kid, or your spouse buys, then you're not entitled to commission. But if your parents buy, brother buys, cousins buy, uncles, aunts, whatever, you can still get paid. You have to disclose, but you can still get paid. So thanks for the question, Brenda, but I really don't see that changing. Apparently Maria already fought to get it whittled down, and they got it whittled down. And I don't know if there's a fight for it to be more whittled down, but I don't see that changing anytime soon. Hopefully that answers your question. See another one coming in here. Mark talked about registration. Yes, we have a registration, so it's a good idea. The question was in the chat there, 100 days he registered, didn't get confirmation. I'll check on the auto email going back out, but we do have it. I know I looked at it the other day, so we do have it. I'll tell you right now, and I'll look at the auto reply mechanism and make sure that's coming into effect. And Cassandra, if you're watching, I can ask you to do that. Cool. Any other questions? Okay, some other stuff coming in here. Any advice on exclusive or non-exclusive service agreements, pros and cons? Yeah, I spoke with the board about this, and there wasn't a firm answer, and this is still new territory, right? And so as I've said before, new territory, we're going to figure some things out. Real world, real life situations are going to come up that, we didn't expect or anticipate. I don't know how much teeth, if you say this is exclusive agreement, you can't get into other service agreements with other brokerages, how much teeth that's going to have, and who you can bite with those little teeth, if that makes sense. What I've asked the board to do, and what I think their investigative committee is going to be looking at, and I'm hoping that gets down, is to add that into arbitration guidelines. So for instance, hey, I have an exclusive agreement with a buyer, and hey, they went to a competitor, they went to a Remax shop, and they went and bought a house with this Remax agent, and they signed a service agreement with Remax agent, and they weren't allowed to do that. So the question becomes, then who's breaking the contract, right? Who's breaking the agreement? Well, technically the buyer is breaking the agreement. So how can you go after the buyer? Well, you could probably sue the buyer or make a claim against them, but who's really going to do that at the end of the day? Who's got the time? But it could be done. But my question was, well, what onus is on the Remax agent in that example to ensure that their service agreement is valid, and that the client has the ability to enter into their service agreement? And if the Remax agent in that example doesn't ask the questions, or doesn't ask the right questions and doesn't take that step, is there some sort of onus on them that we can do from a board level and say, well, arbitration for a commission, right? So that is where my answer is. We're working on it. We don't know yet, and we haven't had a case like this, and I haven't had a broker conversation about it, other than hypotheticals. So hopefully the board is going to put it into the arbitration, which then we can have it as a policy, and we can look at it and say, okay, it factors into an arbitration claim. But again, at this point, we just don't know how much teeth that actually has and who the right person to bite is. I know for sure you could bite the client, but who's really, I don't even know what the recourse would be. Like, what are you going to sue them for? How many thousands of dollars, right? Well, that's my commission. But if they lied to the Remax agent, said, oh, I didn't sign anything with Royal LePage, or I didn't know what I was signing, I don't think it's going to be worth the fight, to be perfectly honest. So all that ramblings to say, if you write exclusive on there, make sure they understand what that means, and don't just smoke it by them, because if you smoke it by them, it's just going to blow up in your face anyways. But But again, I don't think there's a whole lot of bite to them, honestly. But it may help you in an arbitration case. Okay, it may help you in an arbitration case. I don't know to what extent, because I haven't been in one yet that factored in service agreements. Hopefully that helps. Does that help your answer, Fred? Hope that helps everybody's. Did my best. All right. Any other questions, comments on RESA while we're there? All righty. Hearing and, oh, there's another one. Oh, thank you, Fred. Yes, it helps. Okay. All righty. That's it for today then. Final reminder, again, register for Buffini because we have to get that. You have like kits and workbooks and all that kind of stuff, and it's got to ship. So that's why the deadline is February 7th, so we can get your materials and shipments in for February 16th, which is the first class. So friendly reminder then, sign up. The email, I definitely sent out an email, search in your inbox, but also it's going to be up on the hub, and the registration link is going to be in the hub later today. So check that out. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of the week.